All right, Michael, welcome to Living Off Rentals.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you here. Um, Before we start, I got to just give a shout out to my dad. It's his birthday this morning or
Oh,
today,
nice.
so he's watching this morning. I just want to say happy birthday. He's 71 this year, so
Wow, happy birthday.
yeah. Thanks. Sometimes he tunes in live, so
Oh, cool.
yeah, man, I'm excited for this interview. We connected on Facebook, and we both served in the military in El Paso, Texas, which not a lot of people can say. I guess more and more these days. When I was there, it was just air defense, basically. But and you currently live and invest there. And when you told me you make 50 grand a month on your rental portfolio.
Well, it's not a month. It's not a month.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you said 50 grand a month.
No.
Okay. But we'll dive into the numbers, but I know your rental portfolio basically is at a point where it could support you.
Yes.
You could live off rentals at this point, even though you're also a realtor and do some other things as well. So I'm excited to learn more about how you built that up. But El Paso, man, that's where I was first stationed out of West Point. And I picked up the book Rich Dad Poor Dad and read it in El Paso. And I was living on Crazy Horse Drive on the east side. And, it was, I remember there was a house across the street. This was 2006 when the market was just like it is today. And there was a house right across the street. And it just went on the market. And back then, you couldn't, it was on the market for hours. So walked across the street and made a full price offer that day. And that was my first rental property ever.
Nice.
So
Nice. Awesome.
it holds a special place in my heart there. So, but yeah, I want to dive into your journey and how you ended up, stationed there and then ultimately stayed there and are doing some investing. So if you could kind of share a little bit about your background and how you got into this.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like we have very similar backgrounds because I got stationed out of here from West Point.
Okay.
Yeah. I started.
So you were top of your class then? You were like number one or two? Right?
Yeah, not exactly. But
just like me.
I think I was in like the 700s or something like that in my classroom, but not that it matters now. But
right, exactly.
I actually started off, I had like almost zero like financial education. And I would say like my journey into like investing and just being somewhat like financially savvy actually started at West Point when I was a firstie. And it started off with like just very simple habits of like saving, investing. So I would always make sure, I think we got like $400 or $500 a month or something like that, like very small amount.
Firstie is a senior, by the way, for those who are listening.
Yeah. So I'm a senior in college and we get like a stipend of like $400 or $500. And I would always just make sure to save like $100 or $150, no matter what, so I would just set that aside. And then like, if I ran out of money, wouldn't touch that. So that really helped me start saving and kind of get those positive habits, even though it was something like really, really small to start off. Because my parents really never are not financially savvy. They never really taught me anything about finance, as I'm sure like a lot of people are, but that really kind of helped me get those positive habits going. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm sure that's how a lot of people got started. Mm-hmm. It's a great book. So it really was like really impactful for me. And I was like, wow, I need to start investing, need to start, buying some assets and just getting some cash flow. So that's really where I got into real estate. I was probably 22, 23. I was like a brand new second lieutenant. And I actually had just bought my first house. So I didn't really consider buying rentals or anything like that. I just bought my first house. I was living in an apartment here and I was just sick of doing that. So I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what the VA loan was. The realtor I was working with, they're like, oh, you're going to use your VA loan. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. So I just bought my first house. And after I bought my first house, I actually had one of my soldiers who was doing like rental properties, and he was a real estate agent. And, it just blew my mind. I was like, how are you doing all this? This is great. So he actually got me into being a real estate agent. So I got licensed. I graduated in 2014. I started my license courses in 2015. And then I finally got licensed and started practicing real estate in 2016. And that's really where my second property I bought with my VA loan again. So I had two houses, the VA loan. I just rented the first one out, became my first rental. Still have that one today. It's still like a great rental property for me. And then I kind of just started buying properties from there. And then I was able to use one of the topics I like to talk about too for people is being a real estate agent has really helped me out with like my investing a lot. Because that was my original goal, is investing and just becoming financially independent. And doing this real estate agent thing on the side allowed me to have that extra income for like down payments, and really just kind of helped me get like a grasp of what I was doing. Like really get that firsthand experience. And also like the networking piece is huge too as a real estate agent. If you do a good amount of business, you'll start to know like everybody in your town. Like I think I know like everyone in El Paso now, just from doing it for like 4 or 5 years. But so I was able to use a lot of my commissions that I had saved up for down payments on properties, 20% down. I hit a point where I was doing. It hit a point where it was hard for me to get conventional financing, just because I wasn't doing that much real estate business, and my Army income was not really enough to qualify for a lot of the loans. So I, like the house I'm in right now actually is, I made a post about it the other day. I just paid it off, but I bought it with owner finance. I was just hustling, scouring the MLS, looking for interesting people and interesting deals. And I found this place. It was owner finance. I got it for like 7.9% interest, which is, pretty good for like an owner finance deal. I got a 30-year loan. I negotiated like a 30-year amortization, 5-year balloon payment, but I plan on paying it off earlier. But now it's like probably cash flow is about $1,000 a month after taxes, insurance expenses for me. So I did a lot of those. I kind of.
How'd you find that one, by the way?
I just looked on the MLS. It was back in 2017. So that whole year, I don't really do this as much anymore, just because I'm more focused on like my real estate agent business. But basically, I was just really hungry to find like a property, and I had already kind of I used my VA loan twice. I got a few conventional loans, so I had like a portfolio of about 5 properties at the time, and I was really just like, I want more. I want to get to that 10 property mark. So I would just scour the MLS. And I've actually done 2 like interesting things that year. I found this house, owner finance. So I would just look on the MLS, use the resources that I had available to me, and scour and look for interesting like owner finance, seller carry, just key terms in the MLS like that. And I found this one, and this one was listed, I think, for 142. 142 or like 147, one of those. And then I just negotiated with the owner. I said, hey, I'm an agent. So, knock the commission off. I'm not getting any closing costs paid for, which is very typical in our market at the time. So knock those off too. So I ended up negotiating the price down to like 129, like pretty significantly like lower than like the list price. And then after doing the inspection, I was like, okay, it needs a new roof. So like knock some more off the price. This whole thing took about like 2 months. Whole process took like 2 months of negotiating, because the guy obviously did not want to lower the price. And I remember I was actually just in the field. I was in the field doing like an FTX and like negotiating this like deal. Like all my like battalion leadership's like, what are you doing? It's like, negotiating this deal. But so eventually I got the price.
Army training here. Yeah.
And this guy was like, he didn't want to lower the price or give me like the owner finance terms that I was asking for. But I kind of just leveraged the fact that I was like, hey, someone else is not going to want to like come and replace this roof. So, yeah, you got to lower the price, man. So he eventually did after about like a month of kind of wavering. But so that was this one. And then the other house that I found.
Was that one listed as an owner finance when you saw it on the MLS?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
It was. Yeah. Because this guy did
he was open to it.
Yeah, he actually bought it from an older lady, and he did like a flip, basically.
Yeah.
He sort of did like a half flip. I've done a lot of stuff to the house, but yeah, it's one of my favorite properties, really, because it's probably worth like 180, 190 now on these. So it's good equity for sure. Yeah. And then the second one I found was, and I don't recommend doing this all the time. I usually prefer to just do like some conventional stuff, but if you can find some creative ways to kind of help you out, and it gets you a lot of good experience. But well,
especially in the beginning. Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, yeah. I did. So the second property I found, I actually did a subject to, and it was just kind of listed. It had like one of those notes in the MLS. I think it was like listed for 167, and I was like, this place is probably worth like 190. And for whatever reason, just wasn't selling. So I called the listing agent. It's kind of a sketchy guy now that I know who he is. Kind of a sketchy guy, but I got involved. It wasn't a sketchy or anything, but I don't think I'd do business with him again. But he was telling me he's like, you could also take this one subject to, because he like talked to me about the owner finance. Like, I see it's like owner finance listed in there. Like, what does that mean? Or like, what kind of terms are they talking about? He's like, oh, well, like I could see if like the owner would let you just like assume the payments. So I'm like, okay, like, well, let's hear it. Like, what's the balance and everything? Like, oh, the balance is like 150. I'm like, the balance is like 150, and this place is probably worth like 180, 190. It's pretty solid. So we did I don't always recommend doing this again either, because it's like, it can be risky, but we were able to figure it out. So I did like a 1 year, basically we did like a 1 year note. And then after that 1 year, I refinanced into like conventional. But I was able to pay it down to like 140-ish in a year.
Wow.
And then, but yeah, that property is good, and it's probably worth like 200 plus now, and I owe about 130 on it. I think I'm going to sell that one this year, but yeah, so basically like I've done a lot of just things like that. And I always tell people, my whole philosophy is like, I think it's really important to have like your behaviors down first before anything, because a lot of people are looking for like this perfect grand slam deal all the time. And it's like, sometimes you have a good deal right in front of you. If you just take it, it'll really help you like achieve your goal. But yeah, that's kind of like how I started. And right now I just, those are like kind of my early days of like really hustling.
Yeah.
Now I'm able to leverage my real estate commission income into finding like, and just, buying places like cash or, large down payments. And I like to have a lot of equity, just like it's my lifestyle goal. I don't need I don't need to have the highest net worth. I just, I want to be able to live very comfortably off just rental income. So that's why I saw the title of the group, and I was like, I love this. This is great. This is exactly what I want to do. So
yeah, I got to credit my wife for that, because I was trying to think of a name for this, and I was describing, I just want it to be like not flashy, not like get rich quick type thing. It's just like I want to teach people like that there is a way to live off of your rentals, and not necessarily have to trade time for dollars anymore. So
exactly.
Well, that's awesome, man. So just to recap, then you graduated. Was it
2014? Yeah.
Okay. So you graduated West Point 2014. Got stationed down there. Started buying your first two. So you said the first two were VA loans.
Yes, in the same city. Yeah.
Cool, because a lot of people think you can only get one VA loan. So how was that the case?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I have a video I made called Facts and Myths about the VA loan.
Yeah.
That's like one of the myths I bust all the time. But
Yeah.
I also made another video called How to Use Your VA Loan Twice in the Same City, because a lot of people don't think you can do that.
Mm.
But basically, I waited about a year between the two. And that's why I tell a lot of like investors too. It's like, hey, you could use your VA loan again. You know, it's a very easy, don't try to take this harder route when you have something easier right there. You know, do what makes sense first. So basically, I just moved like within the city, and as long as you have a compelling reason for why you need to move, maybe your family's growing or you changed your job, or the lender will just ask you, you know, they'll be like, hey, like, I noticed you bought a place last year. Like, why are you moving? It's going to be hard to do if you try to do it like immediately, but there's no set time limit, but about a year.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. And it was good. Helped me get my first rental property and really kind of helped me get started.
But the total dollar amount can't exceed the loan limit, right? Or is that not true?
It actually can. You just have to put, I believe it's 20% down of whatever you're over. So like if you're 100,000 over, you have to put 20,000 down. And I'm not a lender, so somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but
it's worked for you though.
Yeah, you just and actually, like for example, in El Paso, it's pretty easy to do because I believe our limit's like 400, 500,000 around that frame, and you know our house is like not that expensive, so you could easily buy like 2 or 3 here and still like not exceed that limit.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's up to like 548 or something right now.
Yeah, and actually, there's no limit on your first purchase now too, as of like last year. So you can buy like $1 million home, no money down, if it's your first VA loan purchase. So that's pretty cool. But
yeah, and it's tough to make a rental work at $1 million, but you can also get 4 units.
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
So as long as you're living in one of the units, and even if you can't qualify for $1 million loan, they'll count 75% of the projected income on the other 3 units toward your qualification, toward your debt to income ratio. So if you're thinking about, you know, using your VA loan, if you haven't used it yet, this is a great way to do it and maximize it and leverage it. I didn't realize there was no limit on your first one, but that's amazing. I mean, find $1 million 4 unit, live in one, house hack the others, live for free, and have it 100% paid for. Like they'll probably give you money back at the closing table because you'll get tax credits back. So it is an unbelievable opportunity if you find the right deal.
Yeah, they actually changed that last year.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, it's like places like, I believe like places like San Diego, you know, really expensive areas, for example, I believe it was like 700, 800,000 was like the cap. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they got completely, so there's no cap on your first purchase now.
Nice. Yeah. And if you're not military, the FHA loan works very similarly. You know, there's a small down payment, but very similar guidelines. So definitely look into to that option. So you went from the 2 VA loans into these more creative strategies. And then from there, did you continue to branch out, or did you just start to focus primarily on your realtor side of things?
Yeah. You know what, after, so I can speak to that as well. Starting in the business, I think my first year I did like 3 transactions, like, you know, obviously not even enough to like feed yourself if you're doing it full time, but
as a realtor, you're saying?
Yeah, as a realtor. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then my second year I got up to 14, and I was doing all this like while on active duty at the same time. So
just like nights and weekends?
Nights and weekends. Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot of people ask me about that, like, how do you do that? And, you know, I was just, I didn't really like get a lot of fulfillment out of my time in the Army. No offense to anybody, but I really enjoyed doing real estate. So it was like a great outlet for me to kind of like, so it never really felt like I was like doing like double job, like double work, you know, it was like very enjoyable for me. So I would just do that on the weekends. I would show homes on the weekends and nights, and a lot of my clients were military as well, so they kind of had the same schedule as me. So it worked out as far as that goes. But my second year, I was
going to say, Sorry, I was just going to say you're also building a bridge while you're on active duty, So I think a lot of veterans struggle when they get out. Like they're like, my job was to go overseas and, do patrols. Like, how does that translate to anything? But you were building something that would be an easy transition.
Especially if you're doing like a self-employed, like, independent contractor type business type job. It's difficult to start from scratch. I mean, it was difficult for me, even though I had been doing it for 2.5 years. I just transitioned in 2018, 2019, like very beginning of 2019, basically, into full-time real estate. And, even then it was like, it really felt like, okay, now there's no safety net. I have to really go in on this and really be good at this and really like give it my all. But it was definitely helpful to have, like, I wasn't starting from scratch. I knew what I was doing as an agent. I closed deals before. I knew generally how to like talk to people, how to do things. So it's difficult starting from scratch. Definitely not impossible though. I help a lot of people actually who are getting into like, the real estate, like brokerage side of things, help them get started. And, I love being a realtor. I mean, I love helping other people. Like I can help them invest. I can help them, even just buy their first house, like, really help them like, buy a property. And then if they sell it, 4 or 5 years later and they can see like a good amount of money from that, that's like, makes me happy. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of people that won't have like any investments or anything, but if they own their home, they can make 40, 50 grand or whatever on their sell. So, or more, just depends. But, definitely. I loved, doing both at the same time. And it was a lot of, time, but, I kind of like was able to build that bridge and I got more and more each year. So by the third year I was doing this on active duty, I think I had like 20 or so transactions. And then I was really able to just like hit the ground running, like when I got out. But
nice. One question I get. So I just had Charlie Cameron on, and and Shelby Osborne also. So they're both kind of in the same age group. Both served in the military, became realtors on active duty, built a pretty decent business, investing in and as a realtor. So it was interesting talking to them previously, and I'm kind of curious as a realtor who is an investor. One question I get a lot from investors is, how do I find an investor friendly realtor, that understands this? So what are some of the questions that you think somebody should ask to screen for that?
I would say what I say when people ask me, are you investor friendly? I say no. I'm friendly to people who don't waste my time. That's like basically what I say. And there's a lot of people who say they're an investor, but like they will knowingly waste your time. So I would say the first thing is just have a mutual respect. Have a mutual respect for your realtor, because I'll have a lot of people who are investors and, either their expectations are just not realistic, or they're going to want you to do all this work without getting like any kind of payoff, like I'm doing this this is a business for me. This is how I make money. So I want someone it's actually going to buy something. They're going to close, they're going to be a very serious investor. And you can always tell the people who are very serious investors, they will distinguish themselves. They'll have a lot of knowledge beforehand. Which I don't mind like mentoring someone either. It's just, if they have like unrealistic expectations, you really have to like know what you're talking about, and just like respect the other person's time. I'm happy to help out anybody, like whether they call themselves an investor or not. If they respect my time, they're serious about making purchases or selling. And then here's like two like just examples. I have two like investors that are in my network that I work with. One guy, he always asks me for like referrals, like to different agents in these different cities, because he buys like properties, he fixes them up, and then he lists them for sale in the market, puts them on the market. That someone like that is like an ideal investor, right? Or another one is like, I have a wholesaler that I kind of work with here in El Paso. They actually do a lot of business like elsewhere, but they have like a little market here in El Paso too. So he's always asking me for comps and doing things, which I don't mind at all, because, you know, every once in a while he'll be like, hey, I'm going to list this place for sale and just put it on the market. We want to work with you. So I'm like, okay, great. So I'll get a listing occasionally. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, if you guys are going to give me a listing like every 2-3 months or whatever the case is, I'm happy to run comps for you, do all this legwork. I don't mind at all. So I would just say, like, have a goal, like do business, just do business, do deals. And then just respect the other person's time. That's what I tell people, because I get a lot of that, like, oh, are you investor friendly? I'm like, it depends.
Yeah.
What kind of investor are you?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I guess address that right up front. Say, I'm not somebody who wastes time. I'm going to close. Like, you understand what your deal criteria is.
And I think I feel like there's a lot of tension between like agents and investors. A lot. I kind of like, there's like a little subculture like that. But I tell a lot of these people who are like investors only, it's like, a lot of these agents you're working with are also investors themselves. Like, I'm an investor too. I buy my own properties, I rent them out. I do all the, traditional stuff, but like, I do the same thing. It's not like I'm a novice at that,
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people just assume that, like, they just have like this image of realtors in their head that like we're all like on the shows, and it's like, no.
Yeah. I think also one thing that's benefited me personally working with realtors was just demonstrating the long-term value, that I'm going to be doing this for a long time. In the beginning, so I've got one of the realtors I first started working with when I moved back to Chicago. I got out of the Army in 2011, moved back to Chicago. This guy had just started as a realtor. He's about my age and just a hustler. And I was hustling to find deals. So, we just clicked, and I told him, I said, if you find me deals, you can list them on the back end. I was doing a lot of flips at the time. And so he saw a lot of benefit in that and was willing to really hustle and go above and beyond. And so because of that, I was wanting to reward him. And now he's moved to a different city and we're still doing deals. Next month, we're closing a 1.25 million transaction for him that he found me. That was a great, small multifamily that I rehabbed and stabilized. And now we're selling it a couple of years later, and he gets the commission on both ends. So,
Awesome.
Yeah. So I think just making sure you show that you're not just kind of a one-hit wonder, because that can really help build a realtor's book of business as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give you a personal example too. We bought two Airbnbs, and we actually use real estate agents to help us find those properties. And even though I'm a realtor, I could have asked for a referral fee. I could have asked them to reduce their commission, but I'm like, no, I want you to get your full 3% commission. Because, in the future, if you find something here again, I want you to like have a pleasant experience with me doing business. I don't want you to be like, oh, this guy's going to ask me for a cut. He's going to ask me for this. And so, yeah, it's about building relationships, definitely. And I'm a firm believer in, hey, I want you to get the full amount. I'm not going to ask for a referral fee or any of that, like, especially if you're helping me. So.
Yeah. And they'll be better advocates for you as the buyer then. So
exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. So transitioning then from realtor to investor, you've done several different types of deals. It sounds like some creative, some Airbnbs. I think you've done some small multifamilies as well. So what's your favorite type? Like, what is your ideal property that you're targeting right now and why?
I like multifamily just because, you can get like more cash flow, but I would say now as like, I guess I'm 29. So I guess I'm not super old, but like, as I get like a little bit older, I find myself preferring single family. I know a lot of people are like, "What, you like single family?" But I just like the tenants a lot better. I like dealing with the tenants are a lot easier. Kind of like a mid-grade single family, which in El Paso, it's like actually you can find like some pretty good rentals like that. If you get creative and figure out some things out. But I prefer the single families. I bought an Airbnb in Rio, I really like that one too, because I can actually use that myself. So
Nice.
that's great. But as far as like just ease and steady cash flow, I do like single families, like nicer single family homes that if I have it paid off or close to it, I can make 500 to 1,000 a month, like cash flow from that one. Yeah,
Nice.
so I would say
Nice.
those.
Yeah, I think
I'm
that's
simple, like.
yeah. Well, it's a good point. I mean, that's something that a lot of people don't think about. They look at spreadsheets, and if you just
Mhm.
are living on a spreadsheet and you don't have real world experience, then you don't. You're just comparing numbers, and you don't have the tenant
Exactly.
personality or who your tenant's going to be or what their lifestyle might be like to know how it's going to impact your investment. And that's a big factor. So I tend to agree with you. For a while, I was thinking I was going to transition into multifamily, and I've done a few multifamily deals, but I am firmly in the single family to small
Yes, thank you.
multifamily,
Yes. Yeah.
Airbnb. I'm really big on Airbnbs right now as well. I think the cash flow you just cannot beat, if you do it right.
Yeah.
If you're willing to
Find a good
provide
one.
that experience. Yeah. So tell me about the Airbnb you bought.
So it's me and Amberly. In Rio, it's like a 2.5 hour, about 2.5 hour drive from El Paso. It's like a little ski town. And the properties there, I like Airbnbs that are like cheaper. So kind of like, maybe 100 to 200,000. And basically like, because I find that you can charge like roughly like similar amounts to what you would get with a more expensive property. So the cash flow is like really nice. So we actually bought that Airbnb. We bought it cash. So our expenses are like really, really small, maybe like $100 or $200 a month for insurance and utilities and all that. But it's basically like right near the ski slopes, Ski
Nice.
Apache. And also it's got things to do in the summertime as well. So, you can go to the lake and go horseback riding, play golf, whatever. Now there's like a casino up there. It's like a little like vacation spot for a lot of people in El Paso. But we just found it because we stayed up there one time. And we're like, I like this little area a lot. It's a pretty established Airbnb market. People are always going in and out for like vacation. So we kind of just scoped out like the competition and looked at like the other Airbnbs and what they're charging, what their price points were for these properties, and kind of just made the decisions. The numbers made sense to us, and we just bought it. And another cool feature for that is like we can actually use that for a lot of our clients. So say a client like sends us a referral for a real estate brokerage, we can, hey, have a free weekend in our Airbnb, as a thank you or whatever.
That's right.
If it's not like booked up, you can go there and stay there for a couple of nights or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And we can just go there ourselves too. And it's really nice. And
yeah, a lot of benefits to those. Actually, it's funny. I've got a buddy who is Canadian, and his son's an amazing hockey player. He's playing in the Big Ten tournament at Notre Dame right now. And so
cool.
One of my properties was vacant, and I let him stay there. It's like 45 minutes from Notre Dame. So you got these little side benefits. He was super appreciative for that. And, so stuff like that you just couldn't do with the long-term rental. But what are the numbers on something like that? What could somebody expect?
So mine's different because I paid for it cash.
Sure.
I have like very, very low expenses. So if I have like even 2 bookings, I'm making like $300 after everything. I try to be very conservative with my numbers when I like give quotes, but probably about $300 if I have like a minimum of like 2 bookings, which is like low. And it could be around like 1,000 a month if you're doing if you have like the weekends booked up, which is like pretty common. So again, that's like but this property cost me around like 110,000. It was like really cheap. So it's a pretty good like cash on cash return.
And is it booked? What's your occupancy rate? Do you know?
Amber, like she actually handles the Airbnb like scheduling and everything for me, but
My wife.
we have it booked like 2 to 4 times a month.
Okay.
Probably yeah, right. Well, it just depends like what time of year too. Like during like right now we have like every weekend booked up, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's great. It's like a nice little side thing that brings in a lot of money. I'm like, whoa, like this is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I really enjoy giving the guest a cool experience as well. Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. So ours are pretty much in the summer booked every single day. So it's, I think most places are seasonal in some regard. And then we're like at long weekends in the off season, but it covers our costs in the off season. And then
it's good money
during the summer, it's just, it kills it with cash flow. So, cool. So what is your, you're fairly new, 29, but I mean, you've done a lot because you started so early, or so young. But you're new into your career. So probably not wanting to like retire and sit on a beach at this point. So what's your goal in all this?
I would say
when you first started,
I would say my 5-year plan is I eventually want to leave El Paso. I like El Paso, but I want to move back to the East Coast because I just I really miss the environment. Like I miss the water and the green. And
where are you from?
I'm from Florida originally. I grew up in Florida, but obviously like a lot different than El Paso. But I'm going to continue growing my real estate business here for at least like another 4 to 5 years. And I found like a nice niche here and it's pretty lucrative. So I'm going to really ride it out and for a little bit longer. But basically, I don't know exactly what I want to do after that. So like for 4 to 5 years, I'm just going to continue what I'm doing now. Keep buying rentals, keep buying, like expanding my real estate business. And after that, I don't have like any concrete plans or anything. I love real estate. I've always loved real estate. So I might just transition to being like a full-time investor. Or maybe like commercial real estate, whatever. I'm still kind of like figuring that out, but it's going to be something in real estate. I just love real estate and buying properties. And I feel like that's like what I was meant to do. So
yeah. One thing to think about, I think for people too, is like the differences in markets in terms of El Paso is so stable that
it is.
I feel like we're at a market peak, I don't know how
even El Paso during this like whole COVID-19 craziness, it's still like, I see these people like we're paying $25,000 over appraisal. We're doing 50, like these insane numbers. And like El Paso, we're just kind of like checking along. We're like, yeah, well, I mean, we do have places like with multiple offers. It's still like a hot market, but that's like unheard of for us. We're like, what? Like worst case for us is like you're paying your own closing cost,
right?
Because normally like a really strong buyer's market, but
different. So I think it's smart to be in an area like that and pay attention to market cycles. Like you said, you're going to stay there for a few more years. I would guess, at some point the market's going to go in the other direction. And being in El Paso is very forgiving. My first, like I said, my first deal was walking across the street and offering full price. And then I bought another one, a few months later in El Paso, and I sold those 10 years later, and I bought them for 101 and 102. And I sold them for like 115 and 120. So,
oh, wow. That's not much at all. That's like,
I know
we're getting a lot better, like appreciation now.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's way better now. I mean, it was 06 to 2016. So it wasn't massive appreciation, but it's like, I think that's kind of like that market. It doesn't have huge fluctuations, but I never had issues. I had a great manager. My tenants paid down my mortgage. I appreciated a little bit, and I got, a little bit of cash flow. And so it was a great learning experience as opposed to if I was stationed in Hawaii, where I went next. If I had been there first in 2006 and bought something, I would have been crushed. I mean, it would have killed me financially for years because, a year later, it would have been worth half of what I paid for it in 2006. So, so I think I was very fortunate, and I think it's smart to pay attention to those market cycles in your location. So, do you manage the rentals yourself, or do you have a property manager?
I do. I do some of the management myself.
Okay.
Probably about half my properties, I have a property manager. Like the multifamily, so I have a property manager for. In some of my single family homes, I've transitioned more and more to having them managed just because I'm so busy with everything else. And I only manage like my super easy properties that I know I have like
Sure.
great long-term tenants, for example. Or like we manage Airbnbs ourselves, stuff like that. But here's another thing you can do as well. If you are an agent, I have like a great deal with my property manager that I use. So I'm able to get like a discount on the property management fees. So that's something you can look at as well. If you have like a real estate license, that you can get some referral fees, but if they're managing your own properties, you can get like a nice discount. So I don't want to like disclose the number or anything, but
why? Because you're an agent. Like, what's the agent have to do?
Well,
So,
if you're an agent, right? Yeah. Something I'm also like into a lot is like getting referral fees as another way to like supplement your income. So if you're an agent, you can get referral fees from either another agent in a different city. So like if you're looking to buy something in Pensacola, I can refer you to Charlie. He's in Pensacola, right? I can refer you to Charlie, and I can collect a referral fee. You can also do the same thing for property managers too. So if you have a real estate license and you have a buddy that needs to rent out his house and he wants to use a property manager, you can get like a small referral fee from the property manager. So basically applying that to my own situation, I can get like a discount on like the management fee.
Nice. That's awesome, man. That's a good hack.
Yeah, I'm all about hacks.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it sounds like you started with really sound personal finance skills, or I guess habits, when you were at West Point, which it sounds like you've had all along. I mean, when you're talking about the properties that you're paying some off or paying them way down within a couple of years, obviously that means you're not taking the money and spending it on dumb stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah. I still drive my same car I had that I bought with my car loan.
Did you? Yeah.
I still have the same car. It's a great car.
Nice. Yeah, you should see how long you can keep it. That'll be a good story. But yeah, so I think that's the foundation, because, you know, if you had taken all that money and put it into other stuff, now all those properties would be highly leveraged. And obviously we've had a good market, so you've got some appreciation, but it could be, you know, kind of painful to be in that situation. So I think good personal finance skills and good business skills really tie in hand. You've really got to have one to have the other. So I think that's really smart. So I don't want to keep you all day. What's the best way for people if they want to either invest in El Paso? Maybe they're listening to this in New York or San Diego, and they can't touch anything in their market, and they think, you know, those numbers sound pretty good. If they want to reach out to you and potentially buy an investment property or work with you in some other way, what's the best way?
I'm really active on Facebook. So Facebook message, I will definitely respond to you if you send me a Facebook message. And then my number as well. I think you guys have my number, right?
I can post it in the show notes,
my phone number, Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn as well. It's probably be like a little bit before I respond to you on there though, but Facebook, my number, or email is always good. I mean, I'm constantly like monitoring those things. So
yeah, I wish you could combine all those into one box.
I know. Yeah. You just have like a feed, like a constant feed.
I'm the same way, man. On LinkedIn, like I'll get back to people a month later because I'm like, geez, there's just too many.
Yeah. LinkedIn's like the worst, but I don't think I've ever had anyone complain that I'm like unresponsive. It's usually opposite, like, hey man, leave me alone. So
that's good.
So that's a good problem to have, I guess.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate this. This was, man, it brought back some memories about El Paso, especially I watched your video where you talked about the different sides of El Paso. I forgot, you know, like the differences between the Northeast.
It's grown a lot. It really has.
Yeah.
Like 2016.
Yeah, I need to come back and visit. But I appreciate all the great information too. I think it's really helpful for someone, and not just if you're in the military. Like if you're thinking about transitioning out of your job, start doing some transactions. Get your realtor's license.
Yeah,
Like start
exactly.
building that bridge. Buy some rental properties.
Start now.
It's so much easier to transition later once you've done that. So I appreciate all that advice, and we will definitely stay in touch.
All right. I very appreciate. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.